On October 16, 2011, the 2011 IZOD IndyCar World Championship was the 18th and last race of the 2011 IZOD IndyCar Series season, and it took place at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. There were a lot of storylines coming into this race. The championship battle between Dario and Will Power, Danica Patrick's last IndyCar race before going full-time in NASCAR in 2012, the last race of the outdated IR05 Dallara chassis before the new IR12 Dallara car would make its first laps on the track in 2012. Dan Wheldon has been a test driver of the new car. However, on September 13, 2011, Dan Wheldon was offered to race at Las Vegas for the $5 million challenge. Dan would race the number 77 Sam Smith Motorsports car. In this race, 34 cars were going to race at the 1.5-mile facility. That was the biggest field of cars in an IndyCar race since the 1997 Indy 500, when 35 cars raced there. There was some excitement and some concern coming into race weekend. Despite some concerns, the race was still going to happen. Unfortunately, on lap 11, things went wrong, horribly wrong. 10 years later, it still feels unreal that the race took place. In this episode, I'll be talking about the things happening before the race, during the race, and after the race. This is the 20th episode of Racing Stories. This is the 2011 IZOD IndyCar World Championship 10 years later. The 2011 IZOD IndyCar Series season was an action-packed year with great racing, memorable moments, round 2 of the championship battle between Dario and Will Power, and some controversial moments. Before the 2011 season started, IndyCar revealed their schedule back in 2010. The 2011 Indianapolis 500 was the 95th running of the race and the 100th anniversary of the inaugural race from 1911. Texas was the twin 275 race. Milwaukee was back on the schedule for the first time since 2009. Iowa became a night race. IndyCar made their return to New Hampshire Motor Speedway for the first time since 1998. They were also going to go street racing at Baltimore for the first time ever. IndyCar went to the Twin Ring Motegi, but on the road course after Japan suffered a terrible earthquake and tsunami earlier in 2011. The Motegi Oval was damaged. IndyCar held their season finale at Las Vegas Motor Speedway instead of hosting Miami Speedway. Also in 2011, IndyCar introduced double file restarts to increase excitement and battles just like NASCAR. It was loved by fans, but drivers thought it was a dangerous thing to do. This was also the last year of the outdated IR05 Dallara, as they were going to the 4th generation of the IR12 Dallara for the 2012 IndyCar season. This also meant that Chevrolet and Lotus would be in IndyCar 2012 as well. Danica Patrick was making her last full season in IndyCar with Andretti Autosport before she went full-time in NASCAR in 2012. Well, I already made a video about Danica Patrick's IndyCar career, so feel free to check out that episode. Links in the description below, but I will tell you a brief history of her career. Danica got into IndyCar back in 2005, led some laps during the 2005 Indy 500. She got into Andretti Green Racing in 2007. She became the first female to win an IndyCar race at Motegi back in 2008. She did some NASCAR races in 2010 and 2011, and she went to NASCAR full-time starting in 2012. Coming into the 2011 season, fans expected Dario Franchitti to go for his 4th IndyCar championship. However, just like in 2010, we're going to see another battle. Will Power was also a fast and dominant driver and a threat to win races and a contender for the Yaston Cup. It was exciting, it was intense, and it was controversial at times. Most notably, Toronto.
Here comes Dario.
Oh, those are Joey, unbelievable! The championship contenders.
And Power gets the worst of it.
Oh, that was not Power's fault.
Wow.
And he stalled. Yep. He needs to be restarted.
Full course caution.
Yeah.
He got a wheel under him, and
wow.
Very similar to the Kanaan situation.
Guys, can I give you my take on this? And you're going to say, what are you thinking? Dario has huge respect for Will Power and vice versa. And it almost looked like Dario was going to have a go and then kind of backed out. And,
right.
And because of that, you know, indecision, they just touched. I don't think it was anything malicious. It was just one of those things.
Well, let's take a closer look. This is very similar to what we saw between Briscoe. In fact, he's nowhere close, though. See, Power
almost exactly the same.
Yeah, but Power didn't give him room because, you know, Franchitti was far enough back to where he's thinking, okay, well, he's at this point, okay, I'm clear. I can go to the apex.
Guys, and you can see he was looking in his mirror for Dario.
Yeah.
You know, you see his head just turns, you know, more to the right, and He obviously, like you say, didn't give quite enough room.
I definitely don't fault Power in that one. I think he was, I don't think it was malicious, but definitely Franchitti turned him around.
For me, I thought Scott was the car to beat today. Will was doing a good job leading, but I thought Scott was the car to beat. My guys called a better strategy, got me in that position. The whole thing with Will, I got a run on him down into turn 3, and I braked on the limit, and he braked later than me, and I thought, wow, that's pretty impressive. What happened was, the wall starts to come out there, about the apex. I'm holding the wall, and Will starts to come in. And I saw him coming in, and I started to try and get out of it. I was like, oh man, and we made contact. So racing incident, I'll take my 50% of the blame. Put it this way, if he did it to me, I'd be pissed off too. So I understand why he's pissed off, but it was certainly not intentional. Had there been a drive-through, I'd have been really pissed off about it.
And I still left him some room on the inside, and he just drilled me in the right rear. You know, so disappointing, that guy. And he's the one who complains about everything, whinges about everyone, and he's twice done me dirty on the track. It's just unbelievable. And then IndyCar won't penalise him because Chip Ganassi goes up there and gives it to him. Well, why do they retract the penalty? Why? Because Chip would have gone up and said, you're going to get fired if he gets a penalty. It's just wrong.
Well, that's a look of disgust.
Although Will Power, besides the Toronto stuff, he's been winning races, being consistent. Unfortunately, he was not as consistent as Dario Franchitti, as he's had some issues, crashes, and all that stuff. However, the game changer for the championship battle for 2011 is New Hampshire 2011. And what do I mean? How big of a championship implication that was? Oh, it was a big championship implication, and was also remembered for one thing.
Oriel Servia trying to pick up his first win for Newman Haas Racing. Oh, and a spin all the way in the start. We've got cars going everywhere. And it includes Will Power. Danica Patrick spins. And you see Michael Andretti, he was complaining at the beginning of this because, and there's damage to Danica's car.
Moist track's probably just a little bit, that mist comes down. It doesn't take much with these slicks, Marty.
And this is really going to affect Will Power. Rick, let's check in. What's going on down there?
Well, I'm standing by with I will describe a very agitated Michael Andretti. You called this. You said that was going to happen out there.
Yep, and this is the worst officiating I've ever seen. Sorry, Brian, but this was bad. Really bad. Well, we lost the car and we lost the lead. I mean, this is just, you don't do that. It was wetter than when they threw the yellow earlier and they threw the green. I mean, it's just...
you came down, you appealed to the officials.
I tried. It doesn't matter. Really, really disappointed. I mean, normally Brian does a great job, but this one he really missed it.
Michael Andretti once again came down, was yelling at the officials. Ryan Hunter-Reay in the car was pleading, saying, this is stupid. I can't even put the power down. As a result, you saw what happened.
It was an all-skate session, that's for sure, coming down the front straightaway. And because of the way this track is constructed, you know, you don't have any room there because there's the pit wall that you see Will Power backed into. And, Jamie, what are you hearing from Tim Cindric?
I'll tell you what, for a good 5 minutes before they threw the green, Will Power was yelling, no, we cannot go. You see him frustrated. I have never heard Will Power use language like he did and scream like he did. He is going in to talk to the officials. He had a 20-point swing in the championship going. You see him try to get stopped. He is going to have a talk. He's frustrated, and they're saying the same thing. That was awful officiating. You see him very frustrated talking to Charles there. Tim Cindric is on his way back to the garage to calm his driver down.
He was at 47 points the way it was, and now it's 57 points based on where he is right now.
The race was restarted when it started to rain and a bunch of cars crashed. That crash costed him a lot of points. Even before New Hampshire, Dario was having a better season. Coming into Las Vegas, Will Power was 18 points behind Dario Franchitti. If Will Power wants to win the championship, he would have to finish way ahead of Dario, or Dario would have to have bad luck. After the 2010 season, Dan Wheldon did not return to the number 4 Panther racing machine. Dan did not secure a full-time ride in 2011. Thankfully, Wheldon was picked up by Brian Harder Autosport for a one-race deal to run the 2011 Indy 500 in the number 98 Honda with William Rast as a sponsor. Dan made the best of the one-race deal by winning the 2011 Indianapolis 500 after rookie J.R. Hildebrand, who replaced Dan Wheldon, was leading the last couple laps of the race and came in too hot in turn 4 while avoiding Charlie Kimball, who was a lap car and hit the outside wall. Hildebrand would finish second. That was Panther Racing's 4th straight second place finish at the Indianapolis 500. After Wheldon's shocking second career Indianapolis 500 win, he had no ride after that race. While he was off the car, he was on TV with the Versus crew covering some IndyCar races. On September 26, 2011, it was announced that Dan Wheldon finally found a ride. He would be in the number 77 Sam Schmidt Motorsports ride sponsored by Bowers & Wilkins, while Alex Tagliani would go to number 98 William Raz car from Brian Herta Autosport. 3 days prior, Wheldon took the offer to go for the $5 million challenge for the Las Vegas race. If Dan won the race, he would get half the price and the other fan would get half the price. However, he would have to start the back of the pack in last place. The Kentucky race was a practice run to get prepared for the Las Vegas race. Wheldon started 28th and finished 14th at Kentucky. On October 13, 2011, Dan Wheldon confirmed to IZOD that he will most likely return to Andretti Autosport, replacing Danica Patrick for the 2012 season. It was race weekend at Las Vegas. Before they got to the racetrack, IndyCar made the arrival in the Las Vegas Strip for a parade on the night of October 13th. It was a fun time to see them do a parade at the Strip. Lots of smiles and good times for everyone. Now it was on to the racetrack. On Friday, October 14th, practice took place. The only incident was a major incident. James Jake suffered a major crash in turn 1 after something broke, hit the outside wall, and his car was on fire. Thankfully, Jake did not suffer any injuries. However, his car was toast. In qualifying, Tony Kanaan started on a pole alongside the Oriole Servia. Danica Patrick started 9th in her last full-time IndyCar race. Championship contenders Dario Franchitti and Will Power started in 17th and 18th. Dan Wheldon qualified 29th. However, because he was doing the $5 million challenge, he would have to start in last place in 34th. Before the race, there were some drivers who were very concerned about what's going to happen on race day. Dario Franchitti was quoted as saying that the track was not suitable for IndyCar racing. Will Power described the race as, quote, an accident waiting to happen, end quote. ESPN.com senior motorsports writer Terry Blount wrote, quote, obviously, more cars present more danger. They wanted a whole lot of cars because obviously this is their season finale and they wanted it to be a big deal. Some of the people that were driving in this event yesterday had no business being in it. Some of them had never driven on a track like this. That was a mistake, end quote. However, track president Chris Powell defended the race, saying that the circuit had passed all of the IndyCar Series accreditation procedures and was deemed suitable for racing. He also went on the record to say that despite the media reporting the concerns of several drivers over the safety of the event, none of those concerns had been raised with him. October 16th, 2011. It was race day. After the Indy Lights Las Vegas 100, which was won by Victor Carbone, Joseph Newgarden, who was crowned the 2011 Indy Lights champion earlier at Kentucky and again at Las Vegas, the final race of the 2011 IZOD IndyCar Series season was here. The last ever race for the IR05 chassis. A champion will be crowned. Dan Wheldon was looking for his second win of the 2011 season to beat the $5 million challenge. Danica Patrick competes in her last full-time IndyCar race. 34 drivers will fight for 200 laps to win at Las Vegas. A lot of storylines coming into the race. It was go time at Las Vegas. Pro skater Tony Hawk gave the command to start engines for the final time in 2011.
Vegas Motor Speedway race fans, are you ready? It's time for those most famous words in motorsports, a custom that originated in the greatest spectacle of racing, the Indianapolis 500. Here for today's IZOD IndyCar Series World Championships presented by Honda, our honorary Grand Marshal, skateboarding legend Tony Hawk, to give the command.
Drivers, start your engines.
The command has been given. Pittex, when you're ready, let me know, please. Plane control, World 1, World Championship hot. 2 hot. 3, 1 hot, 1 not. 4 hot. 5 hot.
While pace laps were going on to start the race, the IndyCar ABC crew members were interviewing Dan Wheldon before the race started.
And the 34th and final car starting in this field will be driven by Dan Wheldon, going for the $5 million bonus if he can win the race. He is our in-race reporter. There he is in the number 77. Let's talk to him, Scott.
Dan Wheldon, Scott Goodyear up in the ABC booth. Do you have us?
I've got you, Scott.
Big question everybody wants to know, Dan, today is, can you win and take home the $5 million bonus?
Honestly, Scott, I wouldn't be doing this if I didn't think that I could win. Certainly, I'm not underestimating the talent of the other drivers in the field. I think IndyCar's got a phenomenal field right now. I want to thank GoDaddy and Verizon for this opportunity. And let me tell you, the Sam Schmidt Motorsports team, Brian Hurd Autosport guys have been working hard on this Bowers and Wilkins at Magnolia car with William Rast, Curb and Big Machine Records. So just so you know, Big Machine Records look after Taylor Swift. She's big right now. I've got to try and impress them a lot.
And the speeds we have here, 222 miles an hour. I mean, just fantastic speeds here today. Expect that in the race?
Absolutely. I think they'll be a little bit faster, but this is going to be a spectacle. This is a great way to go out for the IndyCar Series in 2011. We know we've got the new cars and multiple engine manufacturers coming for 2012. So we're excited, and you're grateful to Honda for sponsoring this particular race.
Good luck today, Dan.
After the pace laps, the race was underway. As expected, it was going to be a fast and packed racing kind of race due to dirty air, 2-3 wide racing. There was almost a terrible crash on lap 6 between Ryan Briscoe and Alex Tagliani.
The 98 of Alex Tagliani on the high side. Oh, so close up there. Touch there.
These are not stock cars. They don't do very well when they rub sides with each other.
But did you listen to that? They touched and they didn't even take their foot off the gas. They just kept on going.
That was a very close call moment indeed for 220 miles per hour. Unfortunately, on lap 11, the scariest moment in IndyCar history finally took place.
Looking for Dan Wheldon. Started 34th in this field. He has moved up 10 spots. You're on more with him. And one thing he was worried about going into this race was all that dirty air created by 34 cars.
But right now, the position he's in, he actually has a small advantage because everybody else is opening the air up in front of him. And he, oh, here we go.
Trouble, contact, and a huge crash.
Oh.
Up in turn number 2. Oh, multiple cars involved. Oh, my. It looks like Dan Wheldon may be involved in it.
And Eddie, you and I spoke about this morning on the drive-in. Just this amount of cars, the speed, just the chance for what they call the big one.
And what happens in conditions like that, when you're, even if you're 300 yards behind that, you cannot stop these cars. The only option you have is to try to avoid it, and it was impossible to avoid anything there.
And you saw Will Power, his car involved as well. My. What a mess. That's Townsend Bell that was, I think his car was up on its side there, the 22.
15 there of Jay Howard. An additional entry, excuse me, is that the 19 or 15? I can't see with the sun shining there. Some of the car is broken. They're showing that as Alex Lloyd, the 19.
It is the 15 of Jay Howard.
Yes.
One of the cars actually flew for about 200 yards in the air.
Red flag is out here at Las Vegas Motor Speedway on lap number 12. And from high above, you can see the carnage.
We talk about the car going through the air. Eddie, you know that these cars run so low down to the ground. We mentioned before, we saw them hitting the ground and sparking, that anything underneath the car, underneath the floor, underneath the tub, really just gets the air underneath the car itself, and up it will go.
We saw J.R. Hildebrand out of his car. There is Dario Franchitti. Somehow he managed to get through the carnage, but
Sure, guys, I mean, there's just nothing I can do.
Will Power did not.
10-4. They are going to stop you at pit lane on the right-hand side. They want the drivers to stay in the cars.
What Franchitti was alluding to is there's nothing he can do avoiding the debris that's on the track.
Well, there is debris everywhere. You can see just how many cars are literally torn apart.
The moment everybody has feared sadly happened. 15 cars were involved. The crash looked like something you'd see at a movie. It is so unrealistic. But unfortunately, this really happened. Jared Hildebrand, Paul Tracy, Will Power, Vitor Meira, Jay Howard, Wade Cunningham, James Jakes, Alex Lloyd, Townsend Bell, Pippin Man, Buddy Rice, Thomas Scheckter, E.J. Vizo, Dan Wheldon, and Charlie Kimball were involved in that fiery 15-car crash. J.R. Hildebrand suffered a severely bruised sternum in a multi-car crash and was held overnight at the hospital for observation. Pippaman suffered some burns to the little finger on her right hand that required surgery. Will Power, who lost the championship again, was diagnosed with a compression fracture of his fourth thoracic vertebra. Dan Wheldon suffered the most in that crash, unfortunately. Wheldon was racing at 220 miles per hour when he came upon the scene, frantically trying to avoid the collision. Although he was able to considerably slow it down, Wheldon's car went airborne about 325 feet, 99 meters, after running into the back of Charlie Kimball and went barrel-rolling into the catch fence, cockpit first, causing his head to hit one of the poles. Wheldon landed back on the racing surface, having been sliced apart by the fence and slid to a stop next to the safer barrier. Dan Wheldon was extricated from his car and was airlifted to the University Medical Center of Southern Nevada. For the next couple of hours, everyone was hoping for the best and was hoping Dan was okay. Sadly, we heard the bad news.
IndyCar is very sad to announce that Dan Wheldon has passed away from unsurvivable injury. Our thoughts and prayers are with his family today. IndyCar, its drivers and team owners, has decided to end the race. In honor of Dan Wheldon, the drivers have decided to do a 5-lap salute in his honor. It will take place in approximately 10 minutes. Thank you.
There will be no one-on-one interviews or questions. Thank you.
Did he confirm he's... All right, we came in late on that, and folks, this is the hardest part of our job, and the last time I had to do this was 2006 with Paul Dana, but we have lost Dan Wheldon today here at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. A tragic accident on lap number 13, and Dan Wheldon killed today here at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. There'll be a 5-lap salute. Stay with us, please.
Unfortunately, IndyCar has lost a legend, a champion, a husband and father, a friend, and many more, and a fan favorite. Dan Wheldon was killed, and the cause of death was blunt force trauma to the head. After the announcement, the drivers who avoided the crash did a 5-lap salute honoring Dan Wheldon. 18 cars were on the track. Originally, there were supposed to be 19 cars, but Alex Tagliani did not join the 5-lap salute due to out of respect, since Dan Wheldon won the Indy 500 in the 98 car. After the 5-lap salute, the coverage ended with Jamie Little's last report on Dan Wheldon and Marty Reed's last words of the 2011 IndyCar season and broadcast.
So the 2011 IZOD IndyCar Series comes to a close, but not the way that any of us had anticipated nor wanted. A championship has been won, but there's no celebration. A career has ended in one sport to move on to the next, but there is no happiness. And for all of us, it is just an emptiness as we have lost truly a great racer and Dan Wheldon. Jamie Little has been standing by at University Medical Center. 3 others were transported: J.R. Hildebrand, Pippa Mann, and Will Power. Jamie, can you give us an update from there?
I can't hear the booth.
Open, Jamie, go, Jamie, speak.
University Medical Center right now in the trauma department, and as you can imagine, there's a lot of emotion here. Dan Wheldon's wife, Susie, their 2 little boys, his 3 brothers, and his sister were all by his side. Team owner Sam Schmidt is here. I've been told that Dan Wheldon's parents are at home in England. As for Susie, his wife, a plane is going to North Carolina to bring her family here to Las Vegas. And there's a lot of friends and family surrounding the outside trauma area at this time.
All right, Jamie, and obviously there's no more information available for J.R. Hildebrand, Pippa Mann, or Will Power, as they are still being treated over at University Medical Center. With this, we close out the season, Scott. Like I said, not the way we were anticipating at all.
Absolutely not, Marty. And I think of Dan Wheldon, just a superb person, a very, very fast race driver, somebody that I'm going to certainly miss, not only here at the IndyCar track, but saw him all the time at the kart track, and somebody that all the young drivers looked up to, Eddie.
And we'll continue to look up to an amazing human being with so much enthusiasm, and I'm at a total loss. I just can't believe what just happened.
He always had a smile on his face. In fact, he had actually done 3 television broadcasts with our Versus crew, the people that do the races when we're not on. And who knows, he may have had a career there. Many people ask me why I always sign off till we meet again. Because goodbye is always so final. Goodbye, Dan Wheldon.
There was a lot of sadness at Las Vegas. I am no race car driver by any means, but I know that the drivers doing the 5-lap salute honoring Dan were the hardest 5 laps of their careers. Dario Franchitti won his 4th IndyCar Championship, but there was no celebration. Danica Patrick says goodbye to her IndyCar racing career for now, but there was no excitement of her going to NASCAR.
Well, we're all very sad. He's a friend of all of ours. He'll be missed, and I just feel for his family.
I'm angry, I'm sad, I'm so many things. I felt everything was wrong, and I don't know, just you know, I'm gonna remember really good things from him at Indy, and you know, he's my little brother from another mother, and I don't know, can't believe it, that's all.
It was one of my best friends and one of my greatest teammates back in the day. And you know, we don't think about this, Rick. We race car drivers, we got to block this possibility. And unfortunately, when it happens, it's really hard. So
days like today, you're like, is it worth it? No, absolutely not. But it's what we push each other, we push ourselves, we push our team to win these races and championships, and it's what drives us forward, man. It's what we love. And then you see that happening to Dan, and you just go, you know what? It doesn't matter.
You know, we can put so much pressure on ourselves to win races and championships, and it's what we love to do, and it's what we live for. And then in days like today, it doesn't really matter. You know, we lost, we lost a good friend. I think everybody in the IndyCar series.
this is a dangerous sport. I know we're exposed to that every day in a normal life as well, but you know, you don't think about it. And today we have to think about it. I lost one of my best friends, one of my greatest teammates, and I don't know what to say.
3 days after the crash, they renamed the new 2012 car the DW12, honoring the late Dan Wheldon, who was testing the new car to get ready for the 2012 season. After the crash and the cancelled race was over, the investigation took place. According to the Aftermarket News article, the investigation took 2 months. Brian Barnhart said, quote, "There were multiple factors that are not uncommon to race and came together in a way that claimed Dan's life. It is a tragedy. Our thoughts and support will always be with Dan's family," end quote. The accident review revealed that Wheldon's path on a lower portion of the racetrack was blocked by the multi-car crash he was approaching. Wheldon's car became airborne and ultimately impacted a vertical post of the track fencing. The pole intruded the cockpit, and the impact of the driver's helmet head produced non-survivable blunt force trauma. The response to the head by IndyCar's Hal Matro safety team was rapid and decisive, according to the review. IndyCar analyzed data from the accident data record carried on board each race car involved in the crash. The onboard data acquisition system from each team's timing and scoring data, video, still photographs, physical evidence, and eyewitness reports from participants. Third-party experts with Indianapolis-based Wolf Technical Services provided independent assurance that the investigation protocol, evidence examined and reviewed, and the conclusions reached are consistent and appropriate to standard scientific and engineering investigation methods, race official says. Obviously, no-brainer, IndyCar did not return to Las Vegas Motor Speedway in 2012. Ever since that tragic race took place, IndyCar never came back to that track. After the track, Randy Bernard was given a lot of criticism after the crash. He was blamed because of the $5 million challenge contest. It was called a publicity stunt, a gimmick, and a desperate move that had no place in motorsport. He also received some death threats as well. Gilliam Zucker, president of Auto Club Speedway in Fontana, who attended the fatal Las Vegas race, he defended Randy by saying, quote, "The blame game needs to stop so the energy can be turned towards learning from this incident and making the sport safer and stronger," end quote. Tony Stewart, who was going to the race at the Talladega Fall race, said, quote, "Racing has always been dangerous. I think everybody has got to take a deep breath and let the emotions settle down," end quote. There were a lot of drivers in NASCAR having their thoughts and opinions about IndyCar racing and oval racing.
You know, obviously you watch something like that and it's horrific. It's, you know, somebody has a passion for something and loves doing it, but, you know, it's extremely dangerous. And I think sometimes we forget how dangerous it is. And it's a, you know, you just got to, if you want to do it, you got to keep going. It's, you know, you fall off the horse, you got to hop back on it. And it's always hard to come back to the track right after that, just because you know it's, you know, it can't. There's no way it can't be on people's minds, and even though it's a different series, and you know, I didn't really know Dan at all. It's still, you know, he's part of a fraternity, and it's always difficult.
I knew Dan pretty well. I met him several times and worked with him through the National Guard, and was really a great guy, really nice person, and very friendly, and just you know, real pleasure to be around, and you know, so it's a tough deal. I can't imagine how everybody, his family and everybody in that series is dealing with it. I can imagine it's pretty tough.
It's just, you know, to watch it was just really, it was sad. You know, you could tell that it wasn't a good situation right from the start. There was just a lot of people that weren't able, you know, you weren't able to control it. They're going so fast, and things happen. And really, Dan was, I knew him a little bit, and he's just was a really good guy. Every time I saw him, he was energetic, happy, talking about racing, talking about life, and he was just a really cool guy, a good person. And I had a lot of fun just watching him race, too. I mean, just watching him and win the Indy 500s. Then he was commentating. He was doing a great job commentating. Like, I just thought he was a really talented person, and just really good at whatever he did.
You know, just extremely sad to see what took place yesterday at the IRL race. You know, our racing community, we seem pretty big and spread out in different states racing, and you know, different types of race cars and all that, but you know, it's a racing community, it's a small community, and it impacted me dramatically yesterday. I sat and watched all of it. Sat there with my mouth wide open, you know, with the carnage that took place over there in turns 1 and 2, and you know, was glued to the television for a couple hours watching the red flag and what unfolded, and just couldn't believe, you know, that it took Dan's life. And thankful that, you know, there's 3 other cars that got off the ground, and just so thankful that Will Power, there's a couple other guys that got upside down as well, that they weren't critically or fatally injured as well.
Randy Bernard was declined to be interviewed from the Los Angeles Times. However, he told Associated Press that they'll focus on taking care of the Wheldon family, and it was a tragic accident, and IndyCar needs to understand everything possible about it. 6 days after Dan lost his life, his funeral took place at St. Petersburg. He was buried at the Calvary Catholic Cemetery in Mausoleum. 1 year later, on October 29, 2012, Randy Bernard was let go as IndyCar CEO due to a lack of experience and understanding in the racing industry. Like I mentioned before on the previous chapter, 2 days after the tragic accident, Dallara renamed the new 2012 IndyCar the DW12, honoring the late Dan Wheldon, who was the test driver getting ready for the 2012 season. During the 2011 Fall Talladega weekend, various drivers and teams honored the late Dan Wheldon with decals and a pre-race show talking about Dan Wheldon. A charity race in Wheldon's honor was held in Milton Keynes on December 6th, with drivers such as Dario, Franchitti, Jensen Button, and Anthony Davidson competing. proceeds from the events were donated to the charity selected by Wheldon's family. On the exact same month, Dan Wheldon was posthumously awarded the Gregor Grant Award for his lifetime career achievements that his father Clive and Dario Franchitti collected. Former IndyCar driver Mark Dismore's Newcastle Motorsports Park, which organized the RoboPong 200 endurance karting event that Wheldon won back in 2005, he named the trophy the Dan Wheldon Cup in 2012. On March 7, 2012, St. Petersburg Turn 10 was named Dan Wheldon Way. I actually stood at Dan Wheldon Way when I attended the 2014 Firestone Grand Prix, and it meant a lot to me. After Elio Castroneves won the 2012 Firestone Grand Prix of St. Petersburg, Elio climbed the fence and was paying tribute to Dan Wheldon. Before the 2012 Indy 500, Dan's wife Susie Wheldon was presented the 2011 Indianapolis 500 Champion of Champions ring during the ceremony. On race day, fans will get a pair of white cardboard sunglasses to wear on that day, honoring Dan Wheldon since Wheldon was iconic for wearing those white sunglasses. He was known for his white rimmed sunglasses. Fans will be asked to sport them on parade laps prior to the race and on laps 26 and 98, indicative of the numbers of Wheldon's two winning Indy 500 cars. After Dario Franchitti won his third and final Indy 500 race, he honored Dan by wearing the white framed sunglasses and dedicated the win to him. The Wheldon family added a Wheldon Memorial Pro-Am to the event in 2013. During the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series 2016 Cobalt 400 at Las Vegas Motor Speedway, pit lane reporter Jamie Little and motorsports publicist Brent Bush placed a Dan Wheldon memorial plaque outside of Turn 2 near the point where he was killed. In May of 2016, a book on his life and career with contributions for the motor racing community entitled Lionheart Remembering Dan Wheldon was published. Wheldon was inducted into the Indianapolis Motor Speedway Hall of Fame in May 2019. If you ask me about the 2011 Las Vegas race, that race should not have happened to begin with. Even if it was a normal 26-car race, the race would still be dangerous because of not only how fast the cars were, but because of the pack racing due to the dirty air. It was a terrible freak accident that killed a legendary driver. Some fans say that tragic accident is the reason why we have less ovals on the IndyCar schedule. How could this accident be prevented? Maybe IndyCar should have gone to a different and bigger track for a 34-car race. Maybe they should have not had 34 cars. I'm not really sure. Unfortunately, that race happened. It is in the past, and there's no going back. However, I feel like IndyCar learned from this terrible, terrible mistake. Nowadays, Susie Wheldon owns a clothing boutique store called Verg in St. Petersburg. As for Dan's kids, Sebastian and Oliver, they are following their father's footsteps on the racetrack. On April 24, 2021, Sebastian and Oliver Wheldon joined Andretti Autosport's development team and will have guidance from Michael Andretti while the Wheldon brothers are on the way to the road to Indy. As of now, they're still doing go-kart racing. Danica Patrick's replacement, James Hinchcliffe, took over the car, renumbered to number 27, and GoDaddy was sponsoring Hinch until the end of 2013 season. In 2014, Will Power finally won his first and only so far IndyCar Championship. During the 2013 IndyCar race at Houston, Dario Franchitti suffered a horrifying last lap crash that would end his career. His 2012 Indianapolis 500 win will be his last win of his IndyCar career. As of now, he does drive classic cars on special occasions, and he's also a commentator for Formula E races and just recently some SRX races. After the 2014 DW12 was finished, IndyCar raced the Aero Kits from 2015 through 2017. As of the making of this video, IndyCar drivers are still racing the IR18 Universal Kit cars since 2018. The legacy of the 2011 IZOD IndyCar World Championship race at Las Vegas is of course remembered for the wrong and terrible reasons. However, it was a huge lesson learned for the sport. Safety has also come a long way in IndyCar as well. Unfortunately, after the 2011 Vegas race, we lost Justin Wilson after he suffered severe head injuries after being struck by Sage Karam's nose cone at Pocono Raceway in 2015. Dan Wheldon and Justin Wilson are the last two drivers who died in IndyCar. As for the legacy of Dan Wheldon, he is a legend in not only in IndyCar but in motorsports as well that was taken away from us way too soon. He had accomplished so much in his lifetime as a driver. He won the 1999 USF 2000 National Championship. He was the 2003 IndyCar Rookie of the Year. He's a two-time Indy 500 champion from 2005 and 2011. And he also won the 2005 IndyCar Series Championship. He also won the 2006 Rolex 24 Daytona. He won the 2011 Most Popular Driver and was inducted into the Indianapolis Motor Speedway Hall of Fame in 2019. As a human being himself, Dan Wheldon was a brother, a son, a husband, a friend, and a father. He had a brash and confident personality that made him cocky yet likable. Journalist Maurice Hamilton noted that Dan Wheldon was seen by many as a devoted family man, deeply respected and universally liked despite or perhaps because of a cheeky sense of self-awareness and a clever cultivation of his image. He had a charisma, a sense of humor, and warmth that made him a favorite amongst motor racing fans and the media. Despite being unrecognizable in England due to Formula One being the country's most popular motor racing series, Dan Wheldon was a keen learner and was focused on accomplishing his objection. He was 33 years old. May Lionheart rest in peace. Goodbye, Dan Wheldon. Hello everybody, this is Ian here. I just want to say thank you guys so much for watching this video. As of the making of this video, I just got finished making this video. As of now, it is July 20th, 2021, 4:32 p.m. I just finished the video, and before we officially end this video, I just want to give you guys what I remember and mention other things before I end this video. So the night before the IndyCar race at Las Vegas, at the time I wasn't watching too much IndyCar at that time. I remember watching the 2011 Bank of America 400, and I remember like there was like a promotion about the IndyCar race at Las Vegas. Then I was out during the Las Vegas race. I think I was like at some festival. I don't really remember. And I remember coming home, turning on my TV to watch Speed Center on Speed. And there was like a news about an IndyCar crash. Terrible crash. And then I remember that there was a thing about a driver killed. And turns out it was Dan Wheldon. Unfortunately. And then I went to my Nintendo Wii to watch YouTube videos about what happened, like video clips, replays, all of those things. I don't know what to say. It just felt like it's not real. Unfortunately, it was real. And man, I'm still in lost for words. Even 10 years later, almost 10 years later, as of the making this video, I'm still not sure what to say. All I can say was, of course, Dan Wheldon died doing what he loved, and he wanted to go for the $5 million challenge because he loves racing, and he was going to race full-time in 2012 with the new car. Like, he wasn't leaving the series anytime soon. And unfortunately, his career was cut short. I'll never forget the 2012 Indy 500 before I left to go to the beach. That there was a bunch of tributes. Oh, especially St. Petersburg. Before the St. Petersburg race and the Indy 500, there was like Dan Wheldon tributes, of course. I remember the lap 26 and lap 98 stuff at the 2012 Indy 500. And then I didn't see the rest of the Indy 500 because I was at the beach. I remember seeing like videos that the last lap crash, it took him a Sato and a 3-wide finish, like pace laps to end the race, since they were at the final lap, between Dario Franchitti, Scott Dixon, I believe, and Tony Kanaan. And to see that, Dan's friends and former teammates, it was amazing. To end this video on a positive note, Tell me in the comments below, what was your favorite Dan Wheldon moment? What did you love about Dan Wheldon? And did you guys meet Dan Wheldon? Did you guys see any races when Dan Wheldon was racing? Let's end this video on a positive note. What are your favorite Dan Wheldon memories? And for racing stories, this will be the last episode of 2021. And I just want to say thank you guys so much for the support of this wonderful series. I love making this series so much. I love this series. I want to give a big shout out to my good friends, NASCAR Nick 2488, and Mike and Steven from Indy Fanatics. And also, Mike and Steven, if you're watching this video, I'm sorry for not getting you guys in this video. Forgot about that. But we will collab more in the future. And if you think this year for Racing Stories has been great, expect more. Hopefully, I'll do more collaborations with other motorsports YouTube content creators. And I'm looking forward to it. And yeah. So that's going to do it for this video. I just want to say thank you guys so much for watching this episode of Racing Stories. May Dan Wheldon and Justin Wilson rest in peace. Godspeed. Goodbye, everybody.